Yo, what's up guys? So thanks a lot for watching my MK11 1 year review. And I had a few people leave me messages, send me WhatsApp saying, oh, you're quite nice to MK considering how you feel. Now, I've made it very clear in my videos, I think as a game, as a product, not on a competitive side, I think MK11 is pretty good, as is all Mortal Kombat games. I view Mortal Kombat 11 as a bit of a party game. But party games are usually fun. MK11 is not that fun, but if you look at it away from just the gameplay, which is hard because it's a fighting game, so that's really what it boils down to. All the little things they did them right. The online was good and all that, so that's why I got a lot of ups in my last video. Even though I got more downs still, I didn't really dive into the competitive side of it. So this video is going to be a 1 year review on the competitive side, the gameplay side, and not so much the roster and all that. It's more how the mechanics work. So I'm going to be talking a bit about that. Now my opening points are going to be echo chambers of my last video, so just bear with me. You would have heard one or two of them before, but this video is largely going to be different, and I'm going to be going into the mechanics of the game and giving it ups and downs and seeing how it's done after its first year. So to begin, the general pacing of this game, as I said in the last video, is really good. I like it. I like the slowed down pace. I like a more controlled pace when I'm playing a fighting game. It could be sped up a little bit, definitely. Could definitely be sped up a little bit, but overall I think it's a step up from MK9 and MKX in terms of pacing. So for that reason, I'm going to give it an up to begin. So we're going to start off on a positive note. Now, don't get used to that. As I said, I'm going through things that I echoed in the previous video. We're going to dive into a lot of things which you will have seen in my other videos, so you probably have a rough idea of where this is going, but it's going to be more in depth. So the second up I'm going to give it is character variety, and what I mean by that is everyone is viable in this game. There's no characters that can't win at all. You've definitely got characters that have terrible matchups. Cetrion vs Shao Kahn, I'm sure, is a nightmare for Shao Kahn players, but for the most part every character is viable in this. Yes, there are characters that are way too good and some characters that are lacking, but everyone can win. So I'm going to give it an up in terms of character variety. Now this is where I think the ups end for Mortal Kombat 11, but we'll see. I can't remember entirely. I've written it down, so we're going to go through it. The interactables in MK. I'm going to give the interactables a down. Now, the interactables are not getting it down because they are overwhelming to the gameplay. They're actually the more balanced versions of this this iteration. It's just, I mean, they're balanced, but they're also kind of useless mostly, and they're very boring and unimaginative. So the interactable section of this game, I think they kind of suck for the most part. I'm happy that they don't overwhelm the gameplay. I'm happy that they're not broken like Injustice 1's. But I feel like for a studio that focuses more on the aesthetics of the game, how it looks and the cool little things you can do, I feel like they missed the ball here. So I'm going to give that a down. The next thing I want to talk about are the variations. The variations overall I find to be extremely disappointing, so it's going to get a down. Some characters do not feel complete at all. Moves feel spread out into wrong variations a lot of the time. There are some characters that do feel complete and are very strong, but for the most part I feel like most characters are watered down, boring versions of their true selves. I'm not a fan of variations at all. I don't like variations one bit. I think if you want to have a bunch of moves and then allow people to switch in and out of what they want to change up here and there, that's fine. But having variations, I just like, I don't know, it kind of waters down characters. If you look at characters, if you look at Sub-Zero and Raiden in Injustice, they've got a lot of shit going on. There's a lot going on there. Even MK9, characters have quite a lot going on, but MKX and MK11, they feel a bit too spread out. I'm not really a fan of variations. I think MK11 did a worse job than MK11 with the implementations of them. We had to wait a couple of months to get a third variation, which made me think that this game was incomplete, because why would you go from 3 to 2? Didn't really make sense if you were going to keep the variation system. So it's going to get a down. Variations could be much better in this game. They kind of suck. The poking system in this game is going to get a down. It is one of the worst poking systems I've ever played ever. Like, not just a Mortal Kombat game, like the poking system in this is atrocious. I think that it needs a complete overhaul. It's one of the most frustrating things that I've ever played in my life. The strike throw mix up in this game is just bad. It's really bad. I have nothing positive to say about the pokes in this game. I think that they were implemented terribly, so they're getting it down. And then we move into strings, which is, you know, kind of along the same lines as pokes, but strings again implemented really poorly. Some strings are correctly punishable, like launchers, for example. Noob Cyberbots 113 is a launcher. It goes into his teleport or into his low slide, or he can extend it with a fireball. That's punishable. That's fine. It's a launcher. It makes complete sense. Baraka's 112. You can flawless block the last hit. It's quite easy to flawless block the last hit. It goes into massive damage, so it's punishable. That's fine. But then you have other characters that have really good strings. For example, Kabal. That most of his strings can just be converted into the Nomad Dash, which is essentially a launcher at that point. And all of his strings are safe, which doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Not just Kabal, there's a bunch of characters in this game where strings are safe or they can cancel into stuff. Aaron Black's the thing where he hits you over the head with the gun and then goes into Scud Shot. That's one of the dumbest strings and most spammable strings I've ever seen. I don't know how people think Aaron Black is crap in this game, because he's really not. The strings in this game, is just the risk reward element to it is just really bad. You know, for example, as I said, Kabal has no flawless blockable strings, whereas Scarlet has loads. Don't really understand the logic. I mean, I get it with Scarlet, as I said in previous videos, she's a keep away character, so she's not really supposed to be in your face pressing buttons. But Kabal can be played anywhere on the screen, and he has no punishable strings, and he has no flawless blockable strings, has no gaps in his strings. It's a really poor implementation, so strings are getting it down. Flawless block would have been a great idea if it was implemented fairly. Again, as I said, Kabal has no flawless blockable strings, no gaps in his strings, 2 flawless blocks, so I can't really find a justifiable reason for why, seeing as he can punish you at full screen, he has fireballs, he has a move where he can regen full health. If you jump at him, he can use his Nomad Dash to anti-air you and get a full punish. I pick on Kabal just because he's a glaring example of how stupid this system is and how badly it was implemented. It would have been a good system, but it's going to get down. They didn't implement it properly. The parrying, which is flawless block essentially, it should be a universal mechanic. It should be, it's a mechanic that benefits characters that are not so good. I'll use Third Strike as an example, like I did in one of my previous videos. Characters like Q were not really good, and when you had someone skilled enough to flawless block, to parry everything, the character became menacing because he had very high damage, and that's something that NRS has failed to realize, so they're going to get it down for that. Launchers in this game are going to get it down because, again, like strings, like the poking, I don't know why some things are so safe. Launchers give you high rewards, and in Mortal Kombat oftentimes you can see yourself losing 30 to 40% and sometimes being finding yourself in a reset position with no risk. A previous example I used, and an example I'm going to use again, is the Joker's. In his third variation, it's a very high damage variation, and he uses the gloves to combo extend, but those gloves have so much pushback on them that it becomes virtually impossible to punish him, and there's no real risk there for the Joker. So for that reason, I feel like they don't understand how launchers are supposed to work. They've been poorly implemented. They're getting it down. Throws, crushing blows in throws are largely just lazy. It's just a cheap way to get damage, to be honest with you. With Shang Tsung, Spawn, the Joker, they implemented new interesting ways to get that damage, which was appreciated, and I can't understand why there has not been an overhaul for other characters. It's very boring in the way they've implemented it, and again, I feel like the damage is too high. Because there's no visual indicators on the throws, and this is something that I've been saying over and over again. I'm beating a dead horse at this point, but I'm not going to stop saying it because it is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. I've never seen a fighting game where the throw is just a complete mix-up like that. Like, you have certain characters in other games, for example King, or I don't know, maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but Tizok, certain characters are really hard. They're really hard to break their throws, and they have mix-ups built into their throws. But MK11, the entire game's throw system is a mix-up. There are no visual indicators at all, and so the other person is literally guessing all the time. So for that reason, the damage is too high. I've never, in all the 2D games I've seen, it's a one-button tech for throws like this. Because I mean, imagine if this was in Street Fighter. It looks the exact same when Ryu goes to grab you. Now imagine you had to guess which way he was going to grab you. It's silly. It's really, really dumb. There's no reason for it. There's no justifying it at all either. So that's getting it down. Fireballs, if I could give 10,000 downs, I would. Fireballs are one of the worst things in Mortal Kombat, and they have been since the dawn of time. Every Mortal Kombat. Apparently Ed Boon doesn't like the idea of fireballs clashing. I have no idea why. I would love to hear his explanation for it. I'm sure he's put one out there and I missed it. I can't think of a logical reason, especially for a competitive fighting game. But you know, if NRS came out and said, look, this game is not for the competitive scene, it's for casuals, I'd be like, okay, well, it makes sense, I guess. Even though it's kind of weird since Smash Bros even has clashing fireballs. The most basic things have clashing fireballs, but this is a game made for the competitive scene, so it's inexcusable as far as I'm concerned. Fireballs get down. We mentioned crushing blows earlier with the throws, but as a system as a whole, it looked cool when I saw it at the reveal event. I was there live watching it, but I did say to my friend as soon as I saw them and I saw the damage, I was like, this is going to cause some issues if they do not fairly distribute it and implement it properly. They didn't implement it properly, largely because the poker system is crap in this game. Characters have access to ridiculous damage for minimal work, and as I said, they're unfairly distributed across the roster, and they're hidden within throws where you don't know where you're going to be thrown. So you're put in a situation where it's better to take the throw, to just take it and not try to tech it. I've actually seen players say it's just better if I just get thrown and I don't get escape failed, because if I get escape failed then I'm going to lose 310%. It's ridiculous, really. Crushing blows suck. The juggles in this game, they've been poorly handled. The straw man argument that I've seen people making, and even NRS making, is that you complained about juggles in MKX, so we've watered it down. That's not the problem here. The problem was that MKX had built-in mix-ups, and it would leave you, after a very long combo, it would leave you standing for that combo to reset. So the issue with it was the amount of times you would be reset, how plus they were after the combo, and how much damage the combo was doing. That doesn't mean you can't be creative with juggles. Street Fighter 4 is a great example. Street Fighter 4 has a damage scaling mechanic that seems to have gone over the heads of NRS. When you're doing a high damage combo and it's going on for a very, very long time, just nerf the damage on it. Even when someone pokes you out of the air, combos end up doing an obscene amount of damage, and there's no real effort put into them. I mean, the combos in MK11 are easy. You can pick up a character and on day one you can do most of their most damaging combos. How many times you've been in the corner and you've gone to jump because Liu Kang is plus on everything, so you're like, fuck it, let me just jump, let's see what happens. And then he presses 1, you get clipped, then he's like 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 bicycle kick. And you're either left standing or you're left in a position where Liu Kang's going to put you in another mix-up. You jump, you get clipped by that 1. That 1 converts into about 30%. If they would make it more creative so you could do loads of cool combos when someone's floating, but scale the damage back so you're not punished so hard for something that is so easy, then that would be better. But that's not what they did. They kept the damage relatively the same, and they cut off the creativity factor of the game. I mean, there's a middle ground here. NRS players pretend like there's not a middle ground. NRS themselves pretend like there's not a middle ground. There is a middle ground, guys. You need to use your heads. I've done game design for all of half a year. I know that it's not that hard to do something like that. It's really not that hard. Like, I'm not saying that I am on the level of NRS when it comes to game design, obviously not, but you're trying to tell me that this isn't even a game design issue, this is a common sense issue. So juggles in this game are going to get it down. They're boring, they're one-dimensional. There is a way to make them creative without going down the path of MKX. Use your head, guys, don't be silly. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to work out that if you change the round counters on MK11, it fixes a lot of issues with the crushing blows. And this is something that was suggested to me by Helter Skelter, so shout outs to Helter Skelter. if you add an extra round to the match, it changes the dynamic completely. You have to be more cautious about the crushing blows and the fatal blows that the fatal blow you're going to use, because it's not just 2 rounds anymore, it's 3 rounds. You have to reserve your resources a lot better. And I feel like this, you know, when he said it to me, I was like, wow, that is such a simple fix, because they're obviously not going to fix the mechanics of this game. They're not. We know NRS, they double down. We've heard 16-bit, we've heard what they're saying. They're doubling down on this. They don't think that some of the decisions they've made are stupid, so that's fine. Add an extra round to it, you alleviate so many problems. Now, the flip side of that is that people already have a hard time watching this game. The viewership is generally low on it. There's very few streamers that get high numbers with MK11, and it's very rarely you ever see MK11 spiking above Street Fighter, Smash or Tekken. Adding another round to it is a whole, you know, it's going to take extra long. I don't know if people are going to want to stick around to watch that. But regardless, I feel like 2 rounds for the amount of crushing blows that some characters have sucks. So it's going to get down, and I feel like they should implement that change to the competitive circuit, and it should become 3 out of 5. The defensive mechanics are going to get a down. I know, I've just been saying down constantly, but I'm sorry, I'm just being truthful. I was truthful in my last video. As a game, as a casual game, you know, Mortal Kombat has always done the most. But as a competitive game, it's a bit of a joke. So the defensive mechanics are going to get down because they've been poorly implemented. And what NRS did is they saw the complaints of MKX and they were like, wow, people are saying they've got no way to get up. It's kind of difficult. Let's revise the defensive mechanics. Let's give them options to get up. That's all well and good. I'm glad that they heard that we didn't like the situation of MKX. But they didn't take the time to realize that MKX and MK11 are totally different games. The offense in MK11 is not as oppressive as MKX, so there's not a need for so many more defensive mechanics. The defensive system they've built would have been perfect for MKX because there's so many ways to mess you up when you're on the ground that it would have been nice to do it back to them. But MK11 is not that game. There's not many things that you can do when someone is on the ground. So they gave us a forward roll, a back roll, up 3, up 2, delayed wake up. It's like, guys, enough. Like, you should have just done up 3, up 2. It costed me, it was a good idea. There's no need for delayed wake up. Delayed wake up in this game is one of the most frustrating things. The defensive options in this game, they came at the wrong time. You should have put these in MKX. They do not belong in MK11. They need to be watered down. It's completely unnecessary. And I don't want to hear people saying, oh, you complained about an MKX and now they've given you options. Different game, fam. Different game. It's not the same game. Okay, so don't say nonsense like that. And I don't, you know, if this video ever got to NRS, I'm sure it's not. I would hate for them to turn around and say that, well, you asked for it. We asked for them in response to MKX because Mortal Kombat is notorious for being oppressive. Like, the offense is always too high in Mortal Kombat. But what you did is you slowed it down, which I appreciate. And then you gave them a bunch of defensive mechanics, which were unnecessary. It's a different game, so don't come with that argument. That argument is nonsense, okay? So, as I said, defensive mechanics are going to get it down. Short hops. Short hops in this game, you know, again, it's a great idea. They're largely useless. And when I saw Terminator and when I saw what they did with him, I came to hate short hops even more. What it seems that NRS are doing is they experiment with the guest characters or the DLC characters, and they do things that I feel like they should have done previously. For example, Arnie has the short hop that has a crushing blow on it if someone whiffs a low. That's a great idea. It makes them useful. Now, I'm not saying they're not completely useless. They have their place. I've been hit by short hops every now and then. You know, they have their place for characters that don't have great mix-up. However, they're largely useless. There's usually better options. I mean, people were saying it from day one. You can use the short hop to fake people out without pressing an attack. That's all well and good. But overall, I feel like more could have been done with this. It feels a bit rushed. Again, this goes back to me believing that this was a rushed product. You look at Spawn as well. Unrelated to short hops, but he has a launcher. I can't remember the notation now. I think it's back 1, 2. Does super high damage in the 1 variation, but it's unsafe. I mean, that makes complete sense, and it feels like the way they designed Spawn with his options and whatnot feels like it should have been spread across the roster. But again, the game feels a little bit rushed. It doesn't feel like a complete product. So short hops are going to get it down. Down twos, they're going to get it down. They're getting it down because sometimes they are beaten out by throws, so they are largely inconsistent. I say sometimes, it actually happens pretty often. I've got so many games where I've recorded footage where you can see the down two animation on its way up, and then I get caught by a throw. They're supposed to be throw invincible as far as I was aware. I might be wrong, but they're going to get it down just because they're just kind of annoying as well. Like when you block them and you don't flawless block them, you get pushed hella back, which is dumb. Considering they have crushing blows on them that more often than not going to really big damage. It's just that it's another risk versus reward thing. You're telling me that I have to flawless block this just to punish this guy? Okay, fair enough, but you don't understand that the risk reward factor there's an imbalance there. The other guy is at less risk. I am less likely to flawless block his down two when you consider all the other options that he has. It's kind of silly. So down twos, they're gonna get it down. I'm on a bit of a down streak here, but as I said, I'm trying to be as honest as possible. So we'll get into the last few bits here and there. Breakaways. You already know what I'm going to say. Breakaways are trash. They should have kept breakers. Breakers were one of the things that I wanted to come back. I've never had an issue with breakers. They serve a great purpose in MK. You really need them sometimes. Breakaways, they do the complete opposite. Breakers stop the person being offensive. They stop the damage. They reset the neutral. That's fine. That's all well and good. It's like a get off me tool without doing any damage. Breakaways, you simply fall out of the combo. You can take some extra damage on your way down, but you could press it at a time where you know your opponent is going to be going for an extender that would leave them open. And because there's no sort of animation clash with breakaways, your fist just sort of goes into them and continues the animation. They can get up and punish you. I am not for mechanics that punish people for guessing right or getting the hit. That's not fair. Breakaways are a really bizarre option to go with. I'd love to know whose idea it was. Hey guys, this is a good idea, and I would love more to know who approved it. Breakaways suck. I really hope we don't see a return to them. I kind of had a feeling it would come in after I saw what they put in Injustice 2. I didn't like what was in Injustice 2. Look, some things don't need to be changed, okay? The reason that Tekken is so great is because it's taken the greatest things about it and they've carried it over. Breakers didn't need to go away. Breakers have their place in Mortal Kombat. Bring breakers back, okay? The breakaways suck, just get rid of it. The offensive and defensive meter, they're getting it down. You know, initially when I saw it, I was like, okay, that's a cool new mechanic, you know, it regen, you ain't got to worry about your meter too much. But unfortunately, in this game that is already so spammable, it doesn't teach players to learn how to manage their resources properly. Now, of course, if you're just blowing your meter constantly, it's going to come back to bite you. But it doesn't teach them how to build it responsibly either. This is a competitive fighting game. Don't forget, this is not a casual game. It can be played at a casual level, but this game was designed for the competitive scene. They had the pro circuit in mind. You're not teaching players how to properly resource how to manage their resources. It is really a scrub's paradise, you know. They're getting meter for free, and this is going to go into the next thing. So those offensive and defensive meters are getting it down. I don't like them. I like the traditional way fighting games do meters. I'm sure that there is a system out there that someone can bring out that I'm like, wow, that's a new system. Don't mind it. It's actually kind of cool. There's room for development here. I'd like to see where this goes. This what the NRS has put in this game. Good attempt. I don't like it, unfortunately. A year in, I don't like it. I'm not going to lie about it. I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, blah blah blah. No, I don't like it. I'm sorry. Fatal blows suffer the same problem. There's a few problems with the fatal blow. They're going to get it down as well. First of all, I don't like how fast they are. I don't understand why they don't have opening animations. That is really odd to me. Some of them are so quick. They are so quick to punish stuff. Again, Scrub's paradise, Mash's paradise. I don't know why they don't have more startup on them for the amount of damage they do. And especially some of them, the positions they put you in. Kind of silly. The other thing is that if you use your fatal blow and it's blocked, within 10 seconds it's coming back. Now for the casuals out there, like, oh, that's not a big deal. they've obviously got low health, because to access a fatal blow you have to have like 30% health. You're wrong, because some characters have such great keep away, for example Cetrion, that she'll teleport away from you and she'll wait, and as soon as she gets her fatal blow back, you can't jump, you can't press a button, you can't do anything. Like, same with Noob Saibot, same with Frost, same with all these characters that have fatal blows that appear behind you, appear beneath you, appear above you, dash in your face instantly. Baraka punches you right in the gut at the speed of light. It's just silly. Again, fatal blows in this game are a scrub's paradise. You know, if you are not good at fighting games and you want to get into a fighting game and feel like you're doing really well, this is the game for you. Mortal Kombat has got you covered. Mortal Kombat 11 has got you covered, don't you worry. And that pretty much covers everything I wanted to talk about. I don't think I've missed out anything. The last thing that I want to say is petty, I know, but the game's going to get a down for this as well. Mortal Kombat, for as far as I can remember, was the original one that brought in stage transitions, from when you used to uppercut people in the 2D ones and you go onto a new stage. In the 3D ones you would knock someone onto a new stage and there were new interactables there. I thought that was all sick. Now the damage on that doesn't need to be high. It's just something cool, you know. There's a lot of games where like they just look good. Like I'm appreciative of the stage transitions in DBZ. They handle them in KOs. But NRS has done stage transitions really well. Like Injustice had some cool stage transitions. You can bring the damage down so they don't impact the game heavily. But the lack of stage transitions in this game just adds to this game feeling bland. Like it feels bland compared to some of their other games. It feels like a raw onion. MK11 is like a raw onion, really. So overall, as you can see, I've given it a lot of downs from a gameplay perspective. It's not a good competitive fighting game. This is if you are looking to get into a game where you feel like your hard work is going to be rewarded. And I'm not saying that hard work isn't rewarded on some level, but there are better options out there. I am not the biggest fan of Street Fighter 5, and I'm also critical of some things that Tekken 7 do. However, I would suggest that you play those games over this one. Now, you might think that's unfair because this has only been out for a year and Tekken's been out for 5 years, Street Fighter's been out for 4 years. This game needs time to flourish. I'm just basing this on a year. A year of what I've seen in this game. If you're a competitive fighting game player and you don't want your hair to turn white, I would not play this game. At the very least, I would put it on the shelf and I would wait. That's exactly what I've done. That's why you're not really seeing any content with the Mortal Kombat in it. I'm not playing the game right now. It's very hard to sit there and play it. It's a deeply frustrating game. I do think it makes players that are not that good at fighting games feel like they have a place because there's so much mash involved in that. I don't want that to sound like an elitist thing. I want everyone to play fighting games, but I'm just saying that, you know, this isn't Tekken. This ain't Street Fighter 4. Those games, you play someone good, they're gonna bust you up. But with Mortal Kombat, you know, go pick Sub-Zero. Forward 2, back 3. There you go. You got 2 combo options. The defensive player has to guess now. It's a pure guess. Sonic Fox said you could see the forward 2 coming. I mean, maybe he can. Maybe he's got the Sharingan. The rest of us can't. And just the general options in this game, you know, you're not really going to be punished on moves that should be high risk. So if you want to go into a game to get some wins, make yourself feel good, blah 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 blah, this is your game. If you're looking for a game where the game is going to evolve past where it is now, this is not your game. This game will only change if NRS changes it. In its current state, this is how it's going to be. So it's going to be the mashy, annoying, frustrating game that you've all come to know over the past year. So overall, it gets a down. As a competitive game, MK11 is a monumental failure. It's not as good as I would have hoped. It did make some steps in the right direction from MKX, and as much as I didn't like MKX, it was still much more enjoyable than MK11, I think. You know, I think I've been hard on MKX, but when I look back on some of my old videos playing it, and I remember back to, I played Scorpion Inferno, which was the Minion one. I think it's Inferno, I think Hellfire is the other one. I played the Minion one. I think that variation is fantastic. Forget about the game, that variation for me was so much fun. I absolutely loved it. I have yet to find a variation in this game that feels as complete as that one. It just doesn't feel complete, and I feel like that's largely because they just created a bunch of moves and then threw a bunch of stuff together. And you can tell that when you look at Noob Saibot's pitch black variation, for example. What a load of hot garbage. What a load of hot garbage. That's all I got for you guys today. I will be back with some more. I have done some digging on NRS and MK11, so there is some stuff that I want to share. But that's it for now, guys. That is my 1 year review of Mortal Kombat as a competitive game. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all soon. Peace.